Hello everyone. So today we are going to be covering the last part of our Mahadasha, Venus, planet Venus. So you went through the 7-year long Ketu Dasha, where you had to give up material gains. Okay, most of the time you have to let go of your desires and you have to embrace spirituality. But once you learn that little lesson in 7 years, which is not much, okay, that's when you get that 20 years of material gained period of Venus. Now, if you do not know what dashas are or mahadashas are, please go to my channel and watch what are dashas in the dashas playlist, because these things are far more important than your yearly transits. Okay, because this is how you're able to predict certain coming events. This is how you're able to see how your year will go next year or the year after that. Okay, because if the dasha, the planetary time period in your life, does not promise a certain event, the early transit's really not going to fulfill that. Okay, so this is why it's very important. So Venus time period in your life is 20 years long. Okay, so 20 years of Venus period. Okay, and most of the time it is either good or average. Okay, it's either good or average. On about, I would say, 25% of the occasions it turns out bad. But first, let's discuss what is a Venus good period compared to the bad period. So Venus Mahadasha, how is it? First of all, let's discuss what is Venus in your life. Venus represents happiness and relationship. Okay, people think that Venus represents wealth and luxurious life. However, they're half right and half wrong. Venus represents a luxurious life. Okay, Venus necessarily represents wealth, because people think luxurious life meaning that you will get wealth to gain that luxurious life. Well, there are different scenarios where this can happen. Okay, you can, if you as a guy will have been struggling all your life, suddenly you meet a very, very rich woman, your sugar mama, and through her, let's say for the first 10 years you're in a relationship with her or married to her, she takes you on a world trip, she takes you on the best hotels, you know, you are staying at the most luxurious places, and that's what happens. Okay, now it represents wealth if it's controlling the wealth houses in your horoscope, but in your actual horoscope it can control the house of diseases, house of marriage, you know, house of traveling, house of career, house of children. So depending upon where it's placed in your horoscope, those are the things it's mainly going to represent. But main energy of Venus is finding a relationship balance with other people, finding happiness in relationship with people. So when Venus is, let's say, well placed in your horoscope, it's in the first house, second house, you know, fourth house, fifth house, seventh house, eighth house. Eighth house, Venus actually makes a person very kingly, royal. Okay, Venus in the 11th house, Venus even in the 12th house, you know, does very well. Okay, these are some of the very well good places for Venus, especially 11th house. If you have Venus in the 11th house, it gives a lot of gains if it's in a particular nakshatra. Okay, it gives a lot of gains. So you check for that to see, you know, where Venus is placed. In the 6th house, you know, Venus tend to do okay. However, Venus is then faced with a lot of, like, your relationships are going to be faced with a lot of enemies. Okay, see what happens? So in the Venus Dasha, you know, you're going to experience opportunity to gain happiness. In Venus Dasha, you're going to get opportunity to relate to other people, to gain through other people through a relationship. You will gain through relationships. Okay, that's what Venus is. You know, Venus is also love, of course. You know, so if you're single, you go through a Mahadasha of Venus between your 20 and 40, 50, you know, you will get a lot of opportunity to get that feminine energy being drawn towards you, because Venus represents the feminine energy. So you could be doing a business where suddenly majority of your clients become women. Okay, and so this is why a lot of female contact happens in Venus Mahadasha. You know, Venus Dasha is, see, here's the thing that I'll tell you. Rahu is obsession, Venus is your passion, and Venus represents your happiness. Whatever makes you happy, obviously that's your passion, but obsession is different. So in Venus Dasha, your happiness, your passion comes to life. You know, whatever you're passionate about, you tend to draw yourself more towards that energy. You know, let's say Venus is in the 6th house. It's supposed to be a bad house. Well, that too again depends, because there are millionaires born with Venus in the 6th house. Does that mean that every person who's born in Venus in the 6th house will be a millionaire? No. Most of the time, Venus in the 6th house, you'll find people who are struggling in life. But all of this depends, not just the house of placements of the Venus, but the nakshatra placement of the Venus, where that nakshatra lord is placed, and what pada Venus is in. Okay, so Venus in the 6th house can give love for animals. People who are veterinarians, people who are, animal caretakers, people who just love owning animals have Venus in the 6th house or 6th from the moon. That's what happens. Okay, but you can have somebody who is gaining all of the money while Venus in one of the bad houses, or the Dushanta houses. Why? Because you have to again look at the degrees of the Venus, look whose Venus is sitting with, what planet is aspecting Venus, what nakshatra is in, what padha it is in. All of these matters. This is why Vedic astrology goes so much more deeper than any regular astrology out there. And so Venus brings wealth, but more so it's about concentrating on what makes you happy, because when you follow your passion, money automatically comes in. Okay, now what if Venus is placed badly in your horoscope? But first let me also clear up this misconception. Venus, when it's debilitated, is not just necessarily bad. It makes a person more practical and realistic about their environment. Because Venus is like, this is that woman who wants to be on the cloud nine, wants to be in front of the mirror, dressing up, wants to, eat at the nice restaurant, and wants to feel that high school type of love. Where Venus, really, when it's debilitated, it's like, what, let's be real here. What do you want from me? This is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a realistic person with commitment, who's stable, this and that. What can you give me? They're not very esoteric when it comes to love. So Venus is actually good when it's debilitated. However, let's discuss what happens when Venus is badly placed. Now, what happens if Venus is badly placed? Let's say if it's combust by the sun, it's sitting with the north node Rahu or the south node Ketu. It's badly aspected by Mars and Saturn. Even though Saturn is friendly towards Venus, but it wants to inflict the reality of the world. Okay, so usually whenever Saturn aspects Venus and is bad is pretty much when Venus is in a good sign and then Saturn aspects it. So Venus is, let's say, in Pisces, or Venus is in Libra or Taurus. That's one of its very good strong signs. Venus really feels like, okay, nothing can touch me. I'm just on cloud nine. And when Saturn aspects it, Saturn says, no, you can still face the harsh reality of the world. And that's when people's mind goes, oh my God, my Venus Dasha was so bad. I felt this and I felt that, and I was just mad because I couldn't achieve the goals. Why? Because you were getting too high of expectations about things. So whenever Venus is badly placed, don't have high expectations, have realistic expectations about things. Venus, where it represents relationship and love and feminine energy in your life, in bad Venus Dasha, you will get a lot of this energy that is trying to teach you something. Okay, because every Dasha is here to teach you something. They're not really here to make you go down in life because they hate you. They don't hate you. They're here to teach you something. So you might run into women who might use you and then leave you. Okay, people tend to gain a lot of money in a bad Venus Dasha, but in the Venus Dasha, they tend to lose it right away. That's what happens. Like, they'll suddenly get a lottery, but then they forget to file their tax, and next thing you know, government comes and takes all their money away and more because of their little mishap that they did. People can, if Venus is really affiliated with Rahu, you can actually cheat on your partner, or your partner can cheat on you, depending upon especially which house they're placed in. If it's 7th house, troublesome in a marriage, these things will be the forefront of your life. Relationship and love, you'll get stressed through it. But if you look at it in a way that this is my lesson, so I need to be careful, okay? Once you master this, see, there are people, gurus, all over the place who know about astrology, but they master their planets. Once you master these planets and the energy that they're trying to give you, nothing bothers you. I'll tell you a little secret. Okay, since this is last of the dashas, this is where I'll tell you this is a secret. How do you master your dasha? And how do you master the bad planetary alignments in your life? The best way and the easiest way, without any secret mantra or some Kool-Aid that I want you to drink. Besides that, the easiest thing you do is you recognize what the planet is doing and what the planet is bringing you. Okay, so you look at it and you realize that okay, this is my Venus and this is what it's doing for me. Okay, Venus is in the 5th house and it's in Virgo, so it's gonna bring me a lot of opportunities to where people will not love me, but I might love them more. So might as well balance my energy out. Okay, you will have a certain expectation in knowing what your Venus is doing. So then when you realize that, okay, this is my expectation, what you do, you realize it. As soon as you realize it and recognize it, your subconscious and your mind will automatically register that. And anytime a certain love situation happens or anything related to Venus happens, you will be far more careful than you were before you ever knew that you had a bad dasha. So what happens? That bad dasha going down suddenly becomes neutral. Okay, and once you really master this, okay, once you really master it and try to go around it, it goes up. Okay, so this, guys, this was my analysis on the Venus Mahadasha. This was last of the dasha. I'm going to start a new series, which I'll let you know hopefully today. Now, if you're new to my channel, subscribe above because you're finding out a lot of secrets about astrology. And if you want to know more about this stuff, check out my link below and check out my book there, Astrology at the Speed of Light. Otherwise, I'm going to see you soon. Bye-bye.